Hello and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be learning how to set up multiple LLMs into our Spring Boot project. Before getting into multiple LLM thing, we need to understand some of the prerequisite. As of now, we are relying a lot on the Spring Boot auto configuration. All the foundational model that we are using in our application, just like OpenAI and all that, we are almost depending on the auto configuration, and the Spring Boot is actually doing and setting off the OpenAI foundational model for us, so that using the chat client, we are making a little bit of call, and we are getting some responses and we are playing with it. But right now, time to dig deep. So first of all, let's learn a little bit of internal, little bit of foundation, and a little bit of how to do things by ourselves, how to set up a foundational model by ourselves first, and then we will be getting into setting up multiple LLMs using all our knowledge, and we'll be bringing in OpenAI, we'll be bringing in Ollama, which is a kind of free AI platform for you, and you're gonna be loving that as well. Okay, so you're gonna be also understanding how to basically download a AI model to your local laptop and how to run that and how to integrate that with your Spring Boot web application as well. So a lot of interesting thing in the store. So let's just get started. Hey there, my name is Vilas and you're watching Selenium Express. Without wasting any time, let's just get into the video right now. Okay, so let's just go ahead and create a new project. Name this as Spring AI Multiple LLM. I will stick to my Maven, and group ID, I leave this as it is. Package name, com.seleniumexpress.ai, Spring AI Multiple LLM. JDK, I have the latest Java 24. If you have Java 25, go for it. Well, I don't have 24 right over here, but I can select 21 and then change it to 24. Not a problem. Let the packaging HR and click on next. Well, in the dependencies, I'm going to be choosing Spring Web because I'm going to be creating a web application. And let's just have one LLM, into our application right now. And let's just search for OpenAI. So can I just look for OpenAI? Yeah, there you go. And let's just get the OpenAI foundational model right to our project. Let's just hit create, load the Maven project. And once everything is good, let's just check the pom.xml. Okay, so right here, we got the Spring Boot Starter Wave for our web application. It's going to do a lot of auto configuration for us to start our Spring Boot web application. And we got the Spring AI starter model, and then this model is for OpenAI. So this is going to bring in all the auto configuration that we need to integrate the OpenAI foundational model with our Spring Boot application. I want you to look into this, the naming convention that you have for the Spring AI starter model, then OpenAI. So we are connecting to the OpenAI vendor, and this is the name of that. Okay, so Spring AI starter model. So this part will remain consistent, I think, for whatever model that we're going to be bringing in future. So you're going to be looking into the Ollama or the Amazon Bedrock or Azure or whatever foundational model that we're going to be bringing in later. You're going to be seeing that this part of the naming convention will remain consistent, and this OpenAI will change to Ollama if you're going to bring in the Ollama foundational model. So that's something that we're going to be noticing later. Okay, for now, we are good to go. And here, the Java version, I want to change it to 24. And I'm going to do Control S, refresh my Maven, and everything is looking good. The next thing that I'm going to do, I will close this, and I'm going to open the source, main Java. And right here, let's just create a new Java class. And this is going to be my OpenAI controller. Now let's just create a handler method, which is going to help the end user to talk to the OpenAI model. So let's just create an endpoint quickly. So I'm going to say public string, ask OpenAI. and I'm going to return null for now. And let me just design the API endpoint for this /ask and /message. And let's just bind this message right over here with a path variable, something like this. Now let's just annotate this controller as REST controller. And let's just have another root URI tag for this. So I'm going to use request mapping OpenAI. Okay, so to access this endpoint, ask OpenAI, we need to hit /OpenAI/ask, and then we have to type our message. Okay, and whatever the message or the question the end user is going to hit with the URL, I'm going to be passing the same to the OpenAI chat model. Okay, and for that I need a chat client to talk to the OpenAI model. So I need a chat client, so I'm going to go with the chat client. And now to instantiate this chat client, I will be needing a constructor. So Control N and hit constructor. And obviously this chat client cannot be auto-word right over here inside the constructor parameter, because to create a chat client, we need a chat client builder. So this chat client builder is getting created by the Spring Boot automatically through the auto configuration. Well, we're going to be turning that auto configuration off very soon, and we will be creating our own chat client very, very soon as well in this particular video. But for now, let's just use the automatically created chat client builder right over here to create a chat client object. Whenever you do chat client builder.build, it is going to give you a chat client object back that actually I'm setting it off to the variable that I have created right over here. Okay, so I'm going to take the chat client right now and going to make a call. So to make a call, first of all, I'm going to use the prompt, and the chat client actually allows me to use the Fluent API. So I can use the method chaining style, method invocation. So I can just put a user message. Whatever the user is asking right over here, I'm going to put it over here. So this is going to create a user message for me. And with that message, I'm going to make a call. And whatever this is going to give me, I just want to get the content. And this basically going to extract the content from the response, which is basically a string. And this is what I'm going to return right over here. And I think I'm all set. Only one thing I think I will be needing, that's my OpenAI key. If I'm going to be starting this application, well, OpenAI API key must be set. Yeah, that's true. So I need to set it with the environment variable. But one thing is that I will not be directly pasting my API key right here. Rather, I'm going to be using spring.ai, OpenAI, and then the API key. Okay, so I will not be directly pasting my API key right over here because that's some kind of sensitive information. I will be setting that with my environment variable. So here I'm going to just put a placeholder. Let's say open, all caps, OpenAI API key. So my key will be read dynamically. This dollar means dynamic from the environment variable. So whenever I'll be running my application, I'll be setting off my OpenAI API key through the environment variable. So let's just go ahead and let's just start this application. So whenever we are starting this application right over here, we're using the Spring AI multiple LLM application. And this is actually our starter file. So let's just zoom this in. And right here, whenever we'll be starting this, modify and run the configuration. And right over here, I will just do the modify option and look for environment variable. And right over here in the environment variable section for this API key, I'm going to set in order to connect to the foundational model. So I'm going to paste my API key right over here and I'm going to do OK. And now let's just start our application right from here, or you can just start it right from here. Okay. And now my application has been started. And now let's just hit the Tomcat server with the endpoint that we have created right here. So let's just hit OpenAI/ask/message. There you go, localhost 8080, OpenAI/ask. Then I can ask which foundational model you are. Okay, let's just see the answer from the OpenAI. So I am based on OpenAI GPT-3 model, which is type of a foundational model designed for natural language understanding and generation and blah, blah, blah. So we are using the OpenAI's GPT-3 model behind the scene. Okay, good. So now let's just come back to our point. Well, right now, let's just get rid of this order configuration thing which is happening behind the scene for us. Now tell me, this chat client is created by whom? Obviously, we are creating the chat client object right over here and assigning the chat client right over here inside the constructor. But to create this chat client, we have used this chat client builder, which is not created by us. We, the developer, has not created this. This has been created by the Spring Boot auto configuration. Okay, so what about the chat client builder? I just want to turn off this auto configuration. I want to create my chat client object by myself. Then how can I do that? Well, to turn off this chat client builder right now, let's just go to the application properties. And right over here, I'll just write chat. And there you go. Spring.ai.chat.client enabled. And now this is set to true by default. I want to set it to false. Okay. Now this is going to stop the Spring Boot auto configuration to stop creating the chat client builder object for me. Okay. Now, if you're going to go to the OpenAI controller right now, you can see there is a red mark. And as you guys know, whenever you put something in a constructor parameter, means Spring will auto-ware this. And in order to auto-ware this, you need to have the object for the chat client builder. But we do not have that object right now because Spring Boot is no more going to create that object for you whenever you're going to start your application through the auto configuration. So that object is gone. So you won't be able to do this right now. Okay. So now if you will not be able to do this, okay, then how are you going to be setting off this chat client? Okay. So you got to create this chat client object by yourself so that you can auto-ware this, for an example. But we don't have the chat client object right now. So this is just giving me an error. So let's just go ahead and create the chat client object so that we can auto-ware this right over here. And to do that, first of all, I will go to my Spring AI multiple LLM and I will create a new package, by the way. And this package is going to be my config package where I'll be writing some kind of configuration for my chat client bean creation. Well, one more thing I'll do, this OpenAI controller, let's just move it to a new package. Let's just say controllers package. And let's just move this OpenAI controller right over here. Okay, now let's just go to config and create a new class here. I'm going to say AI config because we're going to be doing some AI related configuration. First of all, I want this class to be detected by Spring Framework. So I'm going to write @configuration, the magical annotation. Let's just go ahead and define a bean for this. So what is the bean that we're going to be creating? So the bean we want to create is for the chat client. And this bean I want to create for OpenAI chat client. Okay. So right now I want to mark this as a bean. And now I have to return a chat client object. So how can I return a chat client object? For that, the simple method that we have is called create. The chat client class does have a create method that returns the chat client object. So let's just use this. But look at this. It just takes a chat model to get created. You remember I told you chat client is a wrapper over a chat model. Okay. So to create a chat client, we need to pass in a chat model because which chat model that you want to create? Well, I want to create an OpenAI chat client. That means the chat client internally is going to use the chat model, something like an OpenAI chat model, and going to give us the chat client object so that now you can just take that object and you can just do chat client dot prompt dot call dot content, right? So whenever you're going to do chat client dot call is making a call behind the scene using a foundational model, right? So which foundational model it is going to hit, okay, behind the scene, that is going to be defined with respect to the model that we're going to be feeding in with the chat client. So the chat client is a wrapper for the chat model. I have given you this idea already. So let's just use this. Let's just use the model right over here. So once we feed in the model, whenever we're going to make a call, internally, the REST call and all the things which is going to be happen from our Spring Boot application to the chat server or the OpenAI server, that will be taken care by the Spring Boot. So the chat client is making our live Fiji, the developer live Fiji, using all this fluent API style methods, prompt, user, call, content. But the magic is going to be happening over here using this chat model that we're going to be putting in. But do we need to create the chat model by ourselves? So what is this chat model, by the way? Well, if you're going to search for the classes, something called a chat model right over here. I think this is the one. This is an interface. Look at this. This has been created by the Spring framework, and this is an interface given. Okay. And now whatever the implementation that we're going to be using for this chat model, for an example, now I have the OpenAI related, thing in my pom.xml. So you can see Spring AI starter model, then OpenAI. So this is going to bring in the OpenAI chat model behind the scenes. So if you're going to go to the chat model interface right now and look for the implementation, as we have that OpenAI specific thing in the pom.xml, if you're going to go for the implementation, look this one. This is OpenAI chat model. This is already a class is already written by Spring Boot, and whenever you have that dependency, this has been pulled in so that you got an implementation right now. So you don't have to write this class. Everything is taken care, like how the call will be made. You can see there is a call, there is an internal call method. Whenever you are actually doing call, right? Let's say in the controller you are doing call, but how the call is getting made inside the OpenAI chat model, there is a method called internal call. And this method is responsible how the internal call is being made to the OpenAI server. I don't want you to see a lot of things, and I do not want you to understand this code, but at least if you're going to calm down and have a look into this line, you can see here the actual call is getting made. You don't have to understand it right now. You can do your experimentation later if you are interested more about it. But you can see this retry template. Using this retry template, they're using this execute method to make a call. And what is this retry template? This is a Spring class. If you're going to click on this, this is a Spring class, and that is being used to call the OpenAI. And why they're using the retry template to make a call? Why not REST client or REST template? Because the retry template is going to help us to make a retry if the internal call fails. Because let's say if you are making a call to the OpenAI server and the call failed because of the server unavailable, you need to make a couple of retries before actually give an error response to the consumer. So let's just go back to the internal call method one more time, right over here. So I think here they are making the call. Retry template is a wrapper, and they're using the execute method to make the call. And you can see here the actual call is getting made. This .OpenAI API .chat completion entity, and they're providing the request and the headers and other stuff. What is this request? If you're going to click on this, you can see here they're actually building the request. Okay, so internally, if you're going to go into this method, the request is getting created, and using that request, we're actually going to make the call right over here. So as I said, retry template is a wrapper. If the REST call, the internal REST call fails, it is going to retry for few more times. Okay, so where the internal call is getting made, so maybe here in this method, chat completion entity. If you're going to click on this, I think here you can see behind the scene, you can right now relate to this. See, they're making a REST client call, right? Using the REST client, this .REST client then they're making a post method, and they're hitting this URI, and this URI is coming from this completion path. I'm sure this completion path should be v1/chat, which is the OpenAI chat completion path. They're adding the headers. Then this is the body that we are getting through the method parameters. And then we are actually doing the retrieve. And then whatever we're getting, we are actually storing that result to the chat completion record of the class they're creating behind the scene, and they're fetching the data and putting it over here. Okay, so we should not bother much about it. So far the chat model is an interface. The implementation is OpenAI chat model, and this is the bean that we are looking for, that we need to feed inside our chat client. Well, this bean is going to be created by the Spring framework. And how the Spring framework is creating all the beans, and I know you guys know about that, that is through the order configuration. So if you're gonna look for OpenAI order configuration, you can look at this class OpenAI chat order configuration. I'm sure if you're gonna scroll down somewhere, they should be creating the chat model. You can see the OpenAI chat model. That is the bean they are creating internally inside this OpenAI chat order configuration class, right? So this bean is right now available, OpenAI chat model. So let's just try to utilize this OpenAI chat model bean, and let's just feed it into our chat client. So I'm going to close this chat model and the OpenAI chat model, and obviously the pom.xml file. Now let's just come to our AI config, and this just need a chat model. So I can just write chat model, let's say chat model in the parameter, and I'm going to specify the chat model, and I'm going to put the chat model right over here, and there you go. So now what will happen? So you know that whenever we are creating a bean, and obviously we need to return this, right? So this is going to create a chat client object, and I'm actually returning this. So you know that whenever we are creating a bean, inside the bean parameter right over here, whatever we are putting, that will be automatically auto-word. So this chat model is automatically going to be auto-word because we have one implementation available, that's OpenAI chat model. So you can either do OpenAI chat model, or if you want to go generic, you can just do chat model, whatever works for you. Okay, that will be auto-word. And right now, let's just go to an interface. That's the best practice. Take the chat model, put it over here. This will be injected by Spring Boot. You just take that and use it over here to create your chat client, and you are done. Now you are able to create a chat client object. So let's just use that in the OpenAI controller right over here. Okay, now you can see the auto-word works. So that's good. You can either do auto-word like this, or if you want the best practice, you can use a constructor. So something like this. Okay, now this also works. It's not going to complain because the chat client is available. So it will be automatically auto-word. Okay, because the bean for the chat client has already defined inside the AI config right over here. Okay, so now let's just restart our application and let's just see whether the things are working fine. Our application has been started. So let's just go back and let's just hit the same endpoint one more time. And let's just see whether we are getting any issue. No, we are not. You can see I'm based on OpenAI GPT-3, which is a generative model, blah, blah, blah. So response is fine. So we are able to create our own chat client. We know how to create a chat client by ourselves. But yeah, before we getting into the multiple LLM thing, and before we bring in another LLM to our application, I just have one more, a trick to show you to create a chat model. Well, this is one of the quickest way that you can ever have to create a chat model, chatclient.create. But we have another approach to create a chat client. Now we can just do chatclient.builder. And this is going to take a chat model. So I can give my chat model whatever Spring Boot is creating right over here. And then I can just do build. This is another way to create a chat model, right? Now, let's just see first of all whether this way of creating the chat model using the builder method is working or not. And then I'll tell you when to go for this and when to go for that one. Okay, that was the quickest way. And this is another way. Okay, so I think this will work without an issue, and you can see this is working, right? when we should go with this approach? Well, whenever you're going to use this builder method, you have lots and lots of options that you can configure with your chat client. Okay, so for an example, guys, I'm going to restrict here something. Okay, let's say I'm building an weather application, right? And I want my application that I'm creating that should not answer to the stupid question that the user is asking. Or I do not want something like when the user is asking which foundational model that you are using, it should not answer that, okay, I'm an OpenAI ChatGPT model. Why should I expose this information to the outer world? What application that I'm using or what foundational model that I'm using behind the scene? If I want to restrict that, what I can do? You know the answer for this, okay? So before I tell you the answer for this, how can you control this? Can you just let me know in the comment right over here in this timestamp, mention the timestamp and write the answer? Then I'm going to reveal the answer right now. Well, you guys already know the answer. Well, whenever I'm using the chat client, let's say in the controller, I'm using the chat client right over here. You can basically specify a system message right over here. You are a weather expert. Just answer question related to weather. Don't answer anything else. Okay, then obviously I'm sure if I'm going to hit this, okay, now it is just saying I'm here to provide information related to the weather only. Okay, so now just tell me if you are creating another endpoint right over here, and there you are making a call to the OpenAI model. There also you need to set this system message in order to stay consistent. So if you have hundreds of endpoints like this, where you are talking to a AI model, then you need to, duplicate this system message everywhere. But let's say you want to set some kind of the same thing you want to set globally. Then wherever you are defining this chat client, you can go to the config file, and right over here with the builder, you can actually use something called default system. You can see default system. You can just use the default system message, something like this, right? So this is my default system message, and now this is global, right? So now you can take the chat client object and can use it anywhere, and you don't have to specify the system message all the time you're making a call to your OpenAI model using the chat client. Here we have set it in a global position. So now you can just run this and you're going to get the same response, even though you are not setting any system specific message right over here whenever you are making the call. We're just making the code very clean right over here. Okay, so if you're going to go back, test the same endpoint, yeah, I think you're going to get pretty much almost the identical answer right over here, that I will not be providing anything outside of the weather thing, which is good. So now I have one more question. So I just told you this chat model that we are using right over here. This is a OpenAI chat model behind the scene. So if I'm going to print this chat model right over here inside the bean, if I'm going to restart my application, you're going to be seeing whenever this bean will be created, if you're going to see my console, look at this. This is the OpenAI chat model object, because this is an interface and the implementation for that is the OpenAI chat model. And whenever the OpenAI chat model is getting created, as I said, we have a lot of default chat properties set with it. For an example, we can see the default options, and these are the default chat options. For an example, temperature is 0.7. The model it is using behind the scene is GPT-4o mini, and the stream uses is false. Okay, so whenever you are talking to a chat model like OpenAI or anything else, you got something called chat properties that you can just use to control how the model is going to be responding to you. For an example, you got something called temperature 0.7. Temperature is actually a chat property which can help you to control the creativity of the model, how the model is going to answer you, like how creative you want your model to be. If you want to control that, you can use this temperature parameter and set this value to 0.7 to 1, or maybe you can go down, you can put 0.2, and you can see how basically your model is responding. So this temperature is a chat property. So you can see the OpenAI model using some default options or default setting or default chat properties right over here. Okay, and actually you can control all these properties right here with builder pattern if you're going to use to create your chat client object. For an example, you can come over here and you can just say dot default options, and you can see here it is going to help you to set some default options. This default option if you want to change it. For an example, chat options builder.build, and you can actually build all the chat options. For an example, I want to tweak the model. Okay, I want to change this model from a GPT-4o mini to, let's say, to a advanced model, let's say GPT-5 or let's say GPT-5 mini. Then you can use this model option. Okay, and you can define your model right over here. And let's say if you want to change this temperature value, so you can use this temperature and can set it, let's say 1.0 instead of 0.7. So you can actually change the settings of your chat properties if you are using this builder pattern of the chat client. Okay, so we're going to be exploring all these things later a little bit. So I'm going to remove the default options from now. But yeah, if you want to change any of this value, you can do that. Let's say here I'm on my OpenAI platform and I will go for models. And let's say you want to use any of this model. As I said, you can go to this model. You can try that in the playground. Let's say in our Spring Boot right now internally uses which model? Let's say it is using GPT-4o mini with the auto configuration. That's the model which is by default set. So if you're going to go to this, okay, and right over here, if you're going to choose the model GPT-4o mini, 4.1 mini, 404 mini, 4o mini. Let's just choose this. You can talk to the GPT model by typing anything right over here. Let's say, hey GPT, and this is the user message, and the assistant is going to reply me that, hey, how can I assist you today? But when you are chatting, right, if you want the GPT-o mini to reply more creatively, you can control the properties right over here. You can click on this. You can see max token, top P, temperature, and all that. So we're going to be talking about all these chat properties. For an example, you can adjust the temperature right over here. Okay, you can go, 2.0 or you can go 0.0. I think by default it was in 0.7. Let's say we are going with high temperature. Tell me about Spring AI. We'll just observe the response by tweaking that temperature. See, whenever we are tweaking the temperature, how the response it is. It is being very creative right now. It is giving me some some responses, but some of the text you can see, you may not like this text. It may not very user friendly because this is a very high temperature right now. You can see the temperature is 2.00. Previously it was 0.7. So you may not like this answer, but this is one of the chat properties that I have changed. But what this temperature means and why it is, giving me answers like this. Well, the temperature, as I said, is something like, if you want the model to be very creative, how the model or how the chat completion is actually working right over here. I told you, it's all about guessing and predicting the next word. Whenever you say hello, it is actually greeting you, hi. And after hi, what will be the most probable word? Maybe it will generate how. And after how, it will generate are. And after are, it will generate you. Because after are, the probability of that word you is more. That's why the model is choosing you and keep on generating those words. And that's how the word generation or the chat completion works. I told you, it's just about finding the next probable word and completing the sentence, completing the chat. Okay. But as I said, whenever it is choosing the next word, maybe you got so many probable words. Let's say after how, what word should be chosen? Let's say you have are, which is 90%. You have is, which is around 10%. You have haha, which is around 5%. You have lol, which is around 1%. So most probably it will choose the most probable word, which is are, which is of 90%. But whenever you're saying, okay, be very creative, maybe it is going to choose how. And after that, to be creative, it might choose some less probable words as well. Let's say how, haha, and like that, it will try to complete. So it will be more creative by adjusting its prediction, right? So that's how the temperature works right over here. Something like that max token. Right now, whenever we are generating a response right over here, how many token that the chat model will be responding to us. Now the max token is 2048, but the more tokens it will generate, the more amount we have to pay, right? So if you want to control these tokens or adjust this token, let's say I want maximum of 60 tokens that I need, and I'm going to say I want to learn Spring AI. Let's just see this. Now you're going to see with the entire response, I just got this much, right? Because I have controlled the maximum number of tokens to 60. So these are what we call the chat properties. Like that, you have top P and all that. We're going to keep on exploring all these things. So right now in your Spring Boot application, you are seeing the temperature right now, how you can actually alter this. For an example, right over here, you can just do dot default option, and you can just do chat options dot builder dot build dot temperature, and let's say 1.0. You are changing the default is 0.7, and let's say a max token dot max tokens, you are saying only 70 tokens I want to generate. And like that, you can keep on going and build the chat properties for your model that you will be using internally, which will be the OpenAI chat model. These default options you can change and adjust if you're going to use this builder pattern. I hope you understand why this is important, right? So let's just save it. Let's just restart our application. Now let's just test this out. Tell me about India's weather in 3000 watts. And look at this. It's restricting the number of tokens. It's not generating the entire text for me. But if I'll be changing this, let's say a max token to 7000, and we'll hit the same endpoint one more time. Now we can see the number of text that it is generating is obviously more than the 70 token restriction that we used to have previously. Okay, so this is the default chat option. We will be actually exploring this a lot. So I'm going to be removing this, and I'm going to be removing the default system. I think right now you understand how we can actually create a chat client object manually, and this is pretty much it. Okay, so now let's just bring in another chat model to our Spring Boot, and we can bring in Anthropic, or we can bring in Amazon Bedrock, or actually Amazon Bedrock is a service, and that offers lots of internal models, right? But yeah, this is a different story. We can bring in the Azure model, we can bring in the Google Gemini and all that. But the one that I'll be choosing right now is Ollama. So first of all, if you want to learn a little bit about Ollama, just search for Ollama here, right? So this is actually a platform. It will actually help you to download a foundational model to your local system. Okay, the OpenAI, the one that we are currently using, they have their own platform. They are hosting the foundational model there in their platform. So you are making a REST call to their platform, and whenever you are getting the response, it takes a little bit of time to give you the response. But if you're going to download the foundational model to your local system, and you are going to talk to something which is in your own server, then obviously you can expect faster response. That's the benefit number one. This Ollama is actually a platform. Okay, so you can actually download Ollama by hitting in this download option. And once you download this Ollama, if you're going to search for Ollama, you're going to get this kind of an interface. So if I'm going to type, hello, let's talk Spring AI, this is going to give me the response like this. So whenever you're going to type in a message, you can choose different model that it is going to give you. You can see if you're going to choose this, and if you're going to hit enter, this is going to download that model. But I haven't downloaded this model yet. I have downloaded this one called Llama. So basically, this Ollama gives you different foundational models. So this is kind of giving you to a good interface that you can talk to the foundational model using your local system without connecting to any server, because you can actually download all this model. Let's say GPT OSS, DeepSeek, let's say Gemma, or let's say Llama. Llama is from Meta by Facebook, if you know. So it actually gives you a lot of models. So as I have downloaded this model already, so I can actually hit this and this can generate me really faster response, right? So now if you want to install Ollama, the first thing that I told you, you need to download this, and then the next thing, you need to download one of the foundational model that you'll be using. Right over here, you can click on this models, and you're going to be getting a lots and lots of models. As I said, Gemma, DeepSeek, GPT OSS, and all that. Okay. Another famous one is Mistral model. If you want to install Mistral, you can click on this. There are a few things that you need to remember before you're going to install this Mistral model inside your local system. Okay. The first thing is, let's say if you're going to choosing this model, it is just saying Mistral 7B. That means it has 7 billion parameter. And the size of this is 4.4 GB. And then the context is 32K. That means whenever you're going to be talking to this model, at a time, it can remember this many tokens. Let's say 32,000 tokens it can remember, and at a time can process it. So whenever you're going to talk to the model with all the past conversation that you made, it can remember up to that many tokens and can generate the answer for you. That's what you mean by context. And input text means you only can give input, which is text. And Mistral 7B means if you're going to click on this, if you're going to install this, you can click on this. 7B means is 7 billion parameter. The more parameters that you have, the model that you're going to be using is going to be that much intelligent. Generally, that's the general thumb rule. Let's say another model, if I'm going to pull in, if that is 2 billion, let's say, or 1 billion, let's say, this Mistral model may be more intelligent than that. So as I said, whenever you are going to train and model, you give a lots and lots of data. So the more data that you give, it is going to create a lot of settings with those data. So whenever you are actually asking a question, is generating an answer for you, it is using all the parameters. So 7 billion parameter it has means it has 7 billion little settings or knobs that it can adjust in order to generate the answer for you. Okay, so more parameters that a model has, it can fine tune your response that much. It doesn't mean that a model with lesser number of parameters may not able to give you a really good response. It's not like that. It all depends on the training the model has gone through and how optimized the training is. Okay. If you want to install this Mistral model, so you can click on this, and once you install Ollama, once you download that, once you have this symbol, or once you have this guy in your machine, you can go to any terminal, let's say terminal. So just open up any terminal and paste this and do enter. Now this is going to pull the Mistral model for you, which is going to take some time. And then you can use the Mistral model with your Ollama application. You are going to have the Mistral right over here. You don't have to download Mistral after that once you pull in that thing. So you can, instead of Llama, you can ask any question to the Mistral model. But one thing that I want to tell you that you need to keep in mind, that is the model that you'll be pulling in. What is the size of that? Because some of the models, let's say if I'm going to go back, if you want to choose any models randomly, let's say I'm choosing the DeepSeek model. For an example, you can see the size of this model is 404 GB. So even though you have a very high-end laptop, for an example, this one does have 32 GB of RAM, the one that I'm currently using, and I even have some GPU. Still, I'm very scared to download this model. I will avoid this and I'll go for a smaller model like Llama 3.1 or 3.2. They will give you, let's say, some lesser size model, and you can go for it if you want. Now, you might have a question. Okay, Avilash, we already have OpenAI in place, then why we need to learn another model like Llama or let's say Gemini or something else? See, one model cannot do all your works. Let's say you are building an application and one model that you want to use for code generation, one model that you want to use for image generation, one model that you want to use for text generation. Let's say ChatGPT is very good at text generation, but let's say we have another model, for an example, Gemini, which is very good for image generation, for an example. So you need to use all these models together for the best result. All the use cases we might not be covered by one model. So that is the reason you may need to install different models. And another thing is that, let's say you are hitting an endpoint. Let's say, for an example, we are currently using this OpenAI controller. Whenever we make this request, let's say somebody is hitting this endpoint, and internally we are using the OpenAI foundational model. But what if that model is not available and the OpenAI server is down? So you want your client request should be redirected to another model if OpenAI is not available. And that is when you need different models configured with your application. So it's all with your application needs, which model you want to go into, what service you are providing to your end user, and which model can do the best for that job. Cut. Important information for you. I'm recording this video right now in my own studio, but I'm into some personal emergency as well. So I will be traveling right now. Maybe the rest part of this video I'll be recording right there. All right, so by now you have tried installing Ollama, and I hope you have successfully installed it. Just to check what are the models which are currently available in your machine, you can try this command, okay? First of all, a simple command, let me tell you, Ollama. Once you hit enter, you can get the kind of documentation and all the commands that you can use to do different stops in Ollama. For an example, to start a Ollama server, you can just use serve. Or to create a model, you can just use create. If you use run, you can actually try running a model. When you do run, I think whenever you select this to install this model, first of all, if you do not have this model available inside your machine, it will try to pull it first and then it will run it. Okay, so you can also see there are some pull command and push command, and you can see the respective documentation pretty straightforward right over here. Okay, now let's say we also have a command called list. Okay, so if you're going to do this Ollama list, then it is going to list out all the models that we have right here. So now I think this is one of the models that I have installed. Yeah, I'm recording this videos after 4 days. So I think I'm recording it after 7 days. I think this is a couple of model I tried installing. So yeah, so all these models that you can see over here, I also have installed Llama, as I have told you. So I got this model as well. So if I want to get one of this model up and running, then I can use this run command, as I said. So I can just do Ollama run, use this Mistral model, write this model name, do enter, and yeah, this is running. So I can just say, hey, and this is going to, respond me back, right? And if you want to stop this, you can just do bye, and it'll just say goodbye. Okay, maybe I can also do this. I can do Control-C to come out of this. Oh, I'm not able to come out of this. I think I can write, yeah, if I'm going to write bye like this, I think I'm going to come out of this prompt. Okay, so you can try different things. So one thing I want to tell you, if you want to start your Ollama server, the appropriate way to start the Ollama server, you can see my Ollama is up and running right over here because I have started the Ollama server already. So there are a couple of ways to start the Ollama server. The first way, whenever you are getting this desktop app, the Ollama server will start automatically, okay? And then you can run any model. Or if you want to start it manually, let's say what I can do, I can quit all this terminal thing and also this desktop. And now I'm pretty sure my Ollama is not running. And let me just say Ollama, okay? And I can use this command called serve. You can see to start Ollama. So I can just say Ollama serve, enter. Yeah, it is saying this address is already in use. That means I just tried starting the Ollama. So even though I exited my application, I think the Ollama is still running in this port number. So if you want to connect to this server, you can actually connect to the Ollama server using this port number. So this is my local host because it is running locally, and this is the port number where your Ollama is actually running. So what I can do, if I want to kill this Ollama, just to show you how to run Ollama, because whenever I'm trying to run Ollama by using the serve command, I'm not able to do so because one of the instances is running already in this port number, okay, on my local machine. So I think I can just do ls of I, and this is the port number. I just want to check where my Ollama is running. Do enter. Oh well, I think I have to give a colon before the port number. Yeah, now I can see the Ollama is actually running right over here in this port number. So what I can do, I can actually kill all these things. So I can just write kill, something like this, and I can just give all this instance ID. Let's just try to kill one, and I think it is killing. Let's just run the same command again. Now this is the one which is running. Let's just do kill, and let's just take this ID and put it over here. And now let me start the Ollama server one more time. I can just say Ollama serve, enter. Yeah, now you can see I'm successfully able to start the Ollama server. And this is how actually another approach if you want to start your Ollama server, because if you don't want to start the desktop app, if you want to start the Ollama server manually, this is the one approach you have to adopt. Okay, now the Ollama is listening on the port right over here. You can see listening on, this is the port number where the Ollama is running. Now let's just try connect to Ollama, and let's just try to use one of the model. Okay, now this time I will not be using the desktop app or the terminal. Let's just try to use the Postman. Okay, so now let's just try to hit the endpoint. So this is actually my local host and the port number. So I'll come over here and I'll paste it. And this is what we mean by local host. If you want to replace it, you can also replace that. This is my port number. And the endpoint is, which is automatically exposed by the Ollama server, is API-chat. So if I'm going to do send, I'm going to get 405 not allowed because I think this is a post endpoint. Let's just try to hit a send. Yeah, now it is just saying this is not a successful request. It is just giving me 400 bad requests because I am missing something with this post endpoint. So there is something that I need to send with the body. So you know what is that, right? So if I'm going to do JSON, and if I'm going to give the request body right over here, the first thing is I need a model, and the model, whatever the model that I have installed right over here on my machine, I can choose one of the models. So I think here my server is running. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new window, and here let's just do a Ollama list one more time, and let's just use one of this model. So I'm going to take this Mistral latest model, and I'm going to come over here and I am going to paste the model name. Okay, something like this. Let's just do a send. Oh well, you can see I'm getting a 200. Okay, the role is assistant because there's the chatbot which is replying, and the content is nothing. A couple of things that I want to tell you over here. First of all, whenever I hit this endpoint and whenever I wanted to use the Mistral model, already Mistral is activated on my machine. The terminal window right now, you can see there are a lot of logs. You can see the Mistral is actually putting off right over here, and I think the Mistral has been loaded, and you can see I'm hitting this endpoint, and this is the post endpoint, and 200 is the status code, and the server is actually responding to that. So whenever I am hitting this endpoint, that model is loaded into the memory, and it is responding my queries right over here. As simple as that. But it is just saying nothing because I am not asking the model anything. So let's just ask the model. Let's just say messages. I'm going to give another comma, and right here I'm going to say stream equal to false. I do not want the message to be streamed. I just want false is boolean, something like this. So I do not want the message to be streamed. I want a straightforward message, but it's still not working. It is just saying empty right over here. Messages. Oh yeah, now it's working well. So I can see content is I am a model of a text generating AI specifically designed and trained by Mistral AI. So this is the response coming from the assistant, and this is the model that I'm currently using. Okay, so this is how the format should be. I need to use the model name, and this is how I need to send the message. And the stream is false. That means I do not want message streaming. If I'm going to remove this, I think I'm still going to get the response, but you can see it is streaming. First it is saying I, then it is saying a space, then it is saying M, then it is saying N, then it is saying N, assistant, model, and all that, right? So it is keep streaming the data. I just want the data at once. So it is going to get me the data something like this. Okay, so this is how the request need to be made whenever we're going to be talking to any AI model using Ollama. If you want to switch the model, you can actually do that. You can actually go there. You can just take one of the model as a Llama, and I'm gonna change the model to Llama, and you can see now the response will be changed right over here as well. Okay, model is required. I'm gonna say this is Llama, this is the correct model, and I think this is gonna Ollama is gonna boot up Llama right now. It's gonna load it to the memory, and I'm gonna get the response from Llama right now. There you go. Okay, this response is from Llama. So you know how to use Ollama right now in your local machine. Now let's just try to integrate the same using Spring AI. All right, so now let's just go back to our IntelliJ. Let's just go to our Spring AI multiple LLM project. And right here, first of all, let's just try to bring in Ollama to here. So I'll go to my pom.xml. And right here, first of all, let's just try to add a starter. And here, I'm going to collect Ollama. So let's just try with Ollama. This is coming from the AI project. Let's just click on OK. Now let's just try to start our application, and let's just see what is going to happen. And we got an error straight away. And this error is occurring inside my AI config because it's required a single bean, but somewhere I think two beans are found. Okay, so in the AI config, yeah, we can already see there is a strike mark right here, the chat model, and the chat model bean is actually not getting injected, and we have a problem here because we have couple of auto configuration available right now, one for Ollama, one for OpenAI, because previously we used to have only one auto configuration, that is the OpenAI auto configuration, because we used to have the OpenAI the starter file in our POM. But right now we got Ollama, we got OpenAI, we got both right over here. This is one, and this is one. Now the Spring AI is actually doing its thing. It is creating beans for Ollama auto configuration. It is also creating beans for OpenAI auto configuration, and that's why you can see in the AI config here the chat model is also complaining, because right now we got two chat model implementation. We got Ollama chat model, we got OpenAI chat model. The Ollama chat auto configuration is kicking in right over here, and the OpenAI chat auto configuration is kicking in right over here. This is creating Ollama chat model, and this is creating OpenAI chat model behind the scene. And right now Spring is getting confused which one to use right over here, because anything that you're going to put over here, that will be auto-word. And now which chat model you want to auto-word, you got to solve that out, right? But here I'm going to say Spring that, okay, no need to get confused. Can I go to the source main resources right over here? Can I go to the application.properties file, and I'm going to use Spring AI model chat. Okay, I can use this. And which one I want to use? I want to use the Ollama. Okay, for an example, let's just start this. Let's just see whether we got any issues right now. Now you see we don't have any issue because I have only activated the Ollama related auto configuration. So if you're going to go to the AI config, now this is going away. Now Ollama chat model is going to be injected right over here, and the OpenAI related auto configuration will not happen. So now if you're going to come to our browser here, if you're going to hit this, now you can see this is going to change. The GPT-3 model, now it is changed, right? It is just saying I'm a model of whatever developed by Google Cloud, then whatever, right? So now the model is changed because we are right now switching back to the Ollama related configuration. Now let's just go back to our application.properties file. Now I want to use OpenAI. So how do I spell it? So how they are saying is OpenAI. So you can use this names, right? So I'm gonna copy this and let's just put it over here. Let's just switch it to OpenAI right now, and let's just try to hit the same endpoint, and let's just see which chat model is actually getting injected right over here, so that we can create the chat client, and the same chat client we're going to be using in our controller actually right over here. Okay, so the same chat client will be injected right over here, and then using the same chat client we're going to make the call. So let's just come over here, let's just hit this, and I think this time this is going to be OpenAI. Yeah, so this is OpenAI's GPT-3 model. So I am actually switching between my models right over here using that properties in my application.properties file. Spring AI model.chat, which AI I want to use in my application. Oh, where I'm looking, I need to look at here. My camera battery is off, so right now I'm recording using my webcam. So yeah, multiple challenges right now when I'm recording all these videos, guys. I am in a little bit of hectic kind of a situation, so I'm just going back and forth my office somewhere else. So a lot of things going on. So yeah, so I hope I already told you guys that I will be recording here and there. So yeah, just excuse me for that. So yeah, so now coming back, what about if I will not use this property? If I'm gonna remove these properties, now what will happen? Obviously, now we got two models right over here. So our AI config will be confused which chat model to use, because the chat model, as I said, this is an interface. Now, if I'm gonna look for the implementation, we have couple. We have Ollama chat model, we have OpenAI chat model. So which one you want to use? So let's say I want to use the Ollama chat model. So what I can do is, I can come to the AI config, and here I can just, use a qualifier, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to use the Ollama chat model. For an example, if I'm going to go to the chat model, and if I'm going to go to the implementation of Ollama chat model, let's say this is the bean that I want to use. Can I come back right over here? And here I'm going to say, hey, this chat client that I'm going to create, this is going to be Ollama specific, for an example, right? Now that chat model only will be injected right over here. So if I'm going to run this, okay, now this is going to work fine. And if I'm going to hit that endpoint, I think I'm going to get response from Ollama, not from the OpenAI. And this is working as expected, right? So now let's just do one thing. Let's just create a couple of chat model. Let's just go to our AI config, and now let's just remove the qualifier from here, or let's just change this to OpenAI, because this is my OpenAI chat client. I'm gonna replace this as OpenAI chat model, and the bean name, the first letter will be small, and I'm gonna copy the same thing. I'm gonna create another bean, and this bean is going to be for the Ollama. So I'm going to say Ollama chat client I'm going to create over here, and let's just replace this name. So now I have a couple of beans created. So this is my Ollama chat client, this is my OpenAI chat client. So whatever I want to use, I can pick one. So for an example, in this controller, so OpenAI controller right over here, now this chat client is complaining because now we have a couple of chat client being available, right? We have Ollama chat client, we have OpenAI chat client from the AI config class that we have created. Now let's say here I want to use a qualifier, and I want to say that, okay, I want to use, let's say this is my OpenAI controller. So I'm going to be I will be injecting this bean to this chat client for my OpenAI controller, right? So this looks good. So now Spring will not be confused which chat client to inject right over here. And now I can do the same thing. Let's just create another controller right now. So let's just copy this and paste this right over here. And let's just say this is Ollama controller, right? So I'm going to say Ollama controller. Let's just do OK. And now this qualifier, let's just change, right? So let's just go to AI config, Ollama chat client. Let's just copy this. Let's just go to Ollama controller. Here, the chat client bean that I want to inject, that is that we have built specifically for Ollama chat client, right? Now the Ollama chat client will be injected right over here. So whenever we're going to make call right over here internally, this call will be going to the Ollama model that we are running behind the scene. Okay, this call will not be made to the OpenAI server because the chat client that we're using right over here is Ollama chat client, and this Ollama chat client that we have created over here and the model that we have used right over here, the chat model, is using the Ollama chat model behind the scene. So now we can test this out, right? So I'll just do one more fix. This request mapping here, I'm going to change it to Ollama. Okay, so if you want to hit ask message for Ollama, you can use this endpoint. And if you want to use ask message for OpenAI, you can use this endpoint. Okay, let's just try this. So let's just go back to our web browser, and let's just say OpenAI, which model you are using. For this is GPT-3, and let's just try to hit the Ollama controller. And here I'm going to just change this OpenAI to Ollama. Rest of the things will be same. And I think here now it is just saying I'm using a Mistral AI model behind the scene, right? So now we have a couple of controllers. In one controller, we are using Ollama chat client. In one controller, we are using OpenAI chat client, right? So whenever we are using OpenAI chat client, this call method internally calling the OpenAI server, and whenever we are using the Ollama controller, this call method is internally hitting the Ollama server, which is running in our local machine. Okay, so obviously I think this endpoint will perform a lot faster than the remote call that you are making right there on the ChatGPT. That's the advantages of using Ollama right here. One thing I will also show you. Let's say if you are doing shift, and if you are looking for Ollama API order configuration, look at this. So this is the order configuration that we have for Ollama, written by Spring already. So if you are seeing the base URL they are using behind the scene, if you're going to hit this get base URL, look at the base URL that they're using. This is the exact URL that we were trying to hit using our Postman, right? So you can see this is the endpoint that we used to hit. And the API chat, this is the endpoint where the Ollama is exposing its detail. So if you want to look at that, just go one step back. And if you're going to look for this Ollama API order configuration, what Spring Boot is doing behind the scene, you can see it is also from the Ollama API. And if you're going to go inside that, you can see there will be a lot of methods. For an example, if you want to stream your chat, or if you want to use this chat method, all these methods are getting called behind the scene. And if you're going to see internally, there are some REST calls which are being made by Spring. You can see a REST client they are using behind the scene. Previously, we used to have REST template, right? Right now, all the REST template things are replaced by the REST client in the newer version of Spring. The REST client they are using to make the REST call, and they are using the post REST call to this endpoint, right? API/chat. And along with that, they are adding the base URL, whatever I have shown you, and they are making a request. And then whatever they are getting as a response, they are actually retrieving that response to the chat response class. I think this is a record. And they have all these things: model, created it, message, done. All these things, all these values that you are seeing, already a record they have created, which is actually binding all the response. For an example, you can say model, created it, message, done region, all this response, how that thing will be binded to a Java object, to a JSON in JSON format. That has been taken care by this particular record called chat response. Okay, so let's just go back. So everything is taken care of. This REST call, how the REST call will be made, how the post call will be made, which URI we need to hit. Everything has been taken care behind the scene by this Ollama API class, which is by default getting loaded by this Ollama API order configuration class that we have over here. Okay, so nothing to worry about it. Let's not get so much depth into it. But this is how you can use multiple chat clients right over here, and you can do practice right now. You can just try switching to Ollama, switching to OpenAI, and just do your hands-on and just get ready for the next lesson, because that is going to be much more exciting. Okay, so this is it for this video, and I also told you in the last video that I will be doing a little bit of giveaway, and that will be a free IntelliJ subscription, whoever gives the right answer to the question that I asked you in the last session. So I've chosen all the valid answer and then done a random pick, and this is the name of the winner. So you can email me to this mail ID that you can see on the screen right now, and I'm going to connect to you and I'm going to give you the IntelliJ Ultimate Edition for free. Okay, so you can code all these things using IntelliJ only. Now we're going to do one more giveaway for the next video, and for that you have to answer this question: why we do need couple of LLM in our project? Why we need 2 or 3 or 4 LLMs in our project, where one LLM can serve our needs, right? What is the reason for switching into multiple LLMs, and what is the reason for learning about how to integrate multiple LLMs in your single Spring Boot Java project? Please type your answer. Do not use AI, and give your own answer right here in the comment. The best answer will get the reward. So that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, bye bye, take care, and happy coding.